If you're studying for the INBDE, I highly recommend INBDE Bootcamp, an all-in-one study resource that will help you pass your exam. Use coupon code MENTALDENTAL for 10% off. Hey everyone, Dr. Ryan here, and welcome back to Mental Dental. And this video is going to be for all of you who just graduated from dental school. And if that's you, first of all, congratulations, you crossed a massive finish line and achieved a major milestone. But in many ways, this is just the beginning, right? Every new dental graduate is probably wondering at some point pretty soon after graduation, now what? So let's talk about what to do next, from memberships to fees you can expect, books, study clubs, and all of those things. First things first, we'll talk about professional memberships, the ones to leave, the ones to keep, or the ones to join. And at least to start with, I recommend keeping your ADA membership. A couple of things you get here: you get a discounted rate as a recent graduate, plus malpractice coverage and life insurance options, continuing education, and advocacy support. Whether or not you stay with them long term kind of depends on how active you're willing to be. So if you're a strong believer in the advocacy of dentistry, of organized dentistry, then it absolutely makes sense for you to be involved with the ADA moving forward. You can also gain friends and mentors that can help you in both your professional and personal life. But if advocacy is not important to you, then it's probably not worth it to stay with them long term. Along with the ADA, you can consider joining or staying with local or state dental societies. For me in North Carolina, that would be the North Carolina Dental Society. There's a whole bunch of options depending on where you are. This is your pipeline for more local networking, more continuing education, and licensure updates specific for your state. If you're in a specialty or potentially heading that way, look into joining the specialty-specific organizations. These would be things like the AAO, the AAPD, or the AAE, for example. These groups offer more specific mentorship, access to the latest journals and published literature, and a professional community in your chosen field. Next, let's talk a little bit about money and the fees that you can expect. Unfortunately, the bills don't stop after graduation. So first of all, be ready for your licensing fees, which do vary by state. The North Carolina dental license renews every single year. North Carolina also requires what's called a privilege tax to be paid each year on top of the license fee. Again, this varies by state, but expect some sort of licensing fee. Also, keep up with your CPR certification. Many states require you to maintain that for an active license, and this usually needs to be renewed every 2 years. And also, don't forget your DEA registration if you'll be prescribing controlled substances. If you're not prescribing those scheduled drugs, then you don't have to worry about a DEA license. For all of these kinds of fees, I highly recommend keeping a spreadsheet or a checklist so those deadlines don't sneak up on you. Have it on your computer, print it out, so you know when those dates are coming. Now that you're out of school, you might want to refine your textbook library a little bit. And I know it might be tempting to throw everything away or throw it in a bonfire somewhere, but don't throw away all of your textbooks just yet. I'm going to recommend a couple that I have that I find to be helpful for reference every now and again. So a couple that I have here. One is Sturdivant's Art and Science of Operative Dentistry. And keep in mind, some of these versions I have are old editions, but that book is really good for all of your restorative needs: composite, amalgam, gold, all of those good things. Next up is this Oral and Maxillofacial Pathology book by Neville et al. This is a really nice reference for all of your pathologies, your potential conditions you might find in the clinic. So I like having something that's very visual, very comprehensive, and covers the full gamut of all the potential pathologic conditions you might encounter. Along with that, this is White and Farrow's oral radiology book. Really nice for interpretation, radiographic interpretation. So if you have a question about a periapical, bite wing, pans, ceph, whatever it is, there's a lot in here. So it's a good, again, just a good reference to go back to in case there's something that you might have a question about, and see if you can try to investigate that a little bit further with these textbook references. Another book that has a lot of clinical application is this one, Dental Management of the Medically Compromised Patient. So it's very nice for those medically complex patients where you have questions about what you can and can't do in terms of your dental procedures, or the ways that you conduct your treatment in the clinic. So it's covering things like antibiotic prophylaxis, cardiovascular conditions, liver, kidney, all of those things. So very thorough, great reference to have as well. This is a classic one. Most of you may have gotten this in dental school at some point, but Netter's Human Anatomy Atlas. Just awesome, pictures of all these arteries and muscles and everything. You might say, when am I ever going to need that? You never know. I think having an atlas like that can be really helpful for diagnosing certain conditions. And if you ever have to take some sort of board exam in the future, that is a awesome reference to have. There's also two books that the ADA makes. One is a Dental Drug Handbook, which I think is really useful for figuring out which medications to prescribe for a specific situation. There's also some phone apps that do the same thing. So either way you go, I think something like that for your pharmacology reference is important. And the ADA also makes this nifty book called the Chairside Instructor. And what it is, it's basically a very watered down, simplified case presentation book. So it's not so much for us, it's more for explaining procedures and findings to our patients. So it'll simplify everything with simple terms, show you what we're looking at clinically and radiographically. For certain treatment options, it'll show you, pictures of a partial denture or an implant if we're talking about, options to replace a missing tooth. So nice to have something like that. There's also a digital version as well. For the business/practice management side, I really like Dental Practice Transition by David Dunning. That's really good for those who are entering into practice ownership. The White Coat Investor, of course, is a common recommendation as well. And if you're studying for board exams like the REB, ADEX, CDCA, make sure you keep those review books handy for a bit longer. Don't throw them out yet. You will need those for those hands-on bench exams. So one of the smartest things you can do after graduation is to join a study club or peer group. You want to surround yourself with sharp, motivated peers. So I highly recommend joining a Seattle study club, a Spear study club, or even a local group at your dental society. Whether you're planning to specialize or you just want to sharpen your skills as a general dentist, this kind of clinical discussion helps to keep you accountable and current. And it also helps to build professional relationships with local dentists and specialists in your area. I cannot recommend it enough. It is worth the investment to be involved in one of these groups or multiple. And then a few final tips for you, some notes of encouragement as well. Certainly keep learning. So a lot of the things I mentioned, whether it's the study groups or textbooks, you want to keep learning and pursuing knowledge. If it's through continuing education, through mentorship, through Facebook groups or YouTube videos, doesn't matter. Stay hungry. There's so much to learn in dentistry, and as technology advances and new things are discovered, there will only be more things to learn too. Don't get overwhelmed. Just take a little bit at a time, and you will become an encyclopedia of knowledge before too long. Also, be careful what you say yes to. And along with that, take care of yourself, because dental burnout is very real, but it's also preventable, especially if you set boundaries early on in your career. A lot of students, when they graduate, they want to go work 5-6 days a week to pay off their debt as soon as possible. They're fresh, they're excited. But I just want to caution you, be careful with that. You can really get burnt out quickly if you're working that many hours. And so I say start with 4. You can titrate up or down depending on how things are going. But I think 4 days is a really nice sweet spot to get started with. Personally, again, this highly depends on your goals, your time availability, the specific job opening that you're looking for, all of those things I've covered in some past videos, and perhaps I can cover even more in future ones. But remember, you've worked so hard to get here, so now it's time to build the career and life that reflect who you want to be as a dentist and who you want to be as the best version of yourself. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more guidance after dental school and all things dentistry. Again, thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe, by the way, to Mental Dental to not miss any future content that I make. And leave a nice comment below if there's something that you have thoughts about, or questions or ideas for future content. I'm always reading those comments, so make sure to leave something that can maybe encourage or inspire someone else watching the video, or inspire me to make something in the future. Thanks again. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.